Before I start speaking, please join me in a minute's silence as we remember our fallen comrades and family members. Thank you. We have just heard during the panel discussion how the 17 Sustainable Development Goals will impact humanitarian responses and how humanitarian responses have a role to play in achieving the ambitious new development agenda. Humanitarian crises have become more frequent, more complex, and they last longer than ever before. The number of people affected by humanitarian crisis has almost doubled over the past decade and is expected to keep rising. These people are the most vulnerable. Whether or not we are successful in addressing their needs will be our measure of success of a people-centered and transformative agenda for development over the coming 15 years. Providing humanitarian help requires outstanding people who are ready to board a plane on short notice, who face danger to help people in need, and who put their own lives at risk. And security remains one of the greatest challenges to humanitarian action. In 2014, 190 major attacks against aid operations occurred, affecting 329 workers in 27 countries. 163 of those were killed, 121 were seriously wounded, and 145 were kidnapped. In 2015, 43 humanitarian staff have already been killed so far, 33 have been wounded, and 24 kidnapped. To acknowledge the efforts of our extraordinarily dedicated colleagues, this year's World Humanitarian Day is dedicated to humanitarian heroes. By tweeting with the hashtag humanitarian heroes, you can honor humanitarian workers, raise awareness, and share their stories. For example, there is Azad Al-Mamoun from Bangladesh, who during the floods in 2000 was forced to spend 2 weeks living on a school rooftop together with his family. After the waters cleared, he and his family had lost everything. And despite this setback, he continued his education and dedicated his life to helping others affected by humanitarian crisis, working with organizations such as the World Food Programme, Oxfam, the National Alliance for Risk Reduction and Response Initiative, and Concern Worldwide. He is a humanitarian hero. Earlier, we heard the stories of His Excellency Monseigneur Dieudonné Nzapalainga, of Imam Oumar Kobine Layama, and Pastor Guérékoyaméné-Gbangou, the laureates for the 2015 award of the Sergio Vieira de Mello Foundation. They are humanitarian heroes, and they will go back home and continue to work side by side with many other humanitarians in their communities under difficult and unpredictable circumstances and out of the media's limelight. Sergio and his co-workers in Baghdad were humanitarian heroes. Our colleagues who died in Algiers in 2007 were humanitarian heroes. They paid the ultimate price for their commitment to making a difference for the people on the ground, and many more were wounded. Their courage and commitment remain a great source of inspiration for us to this day, and the plaques behind me remind us daily of their ultimate sacrifice. Heroic were also the people who tried to rescue the victims from the rubble, as are those who lost loved ones in the bombings. Our hearts and solidarity go out to all of them today as we remember what happened. We have gathered today to pay tribute to all humanitarian heroes, but those who have been taken, both those who have been taken from us and those who continue to toil selflessly for their fellow human beings in need. Their ideals and energy motivate us to carry on in pursuing our joint mission. Every one of us can be a humanitarian hero. There are those on the front lines, negotiating and mediating between parties. There are those involved in the logistics, from packaging deliveries to bringing them through ports and roadblocks to ensure that they reach the people in need, and those handing out aid in refugee camps. There are also those here in Geneva, the humanitarian capital, working to prevent conflict, coordinating the responses, raising funds, and informing the public.